Hi, my name is Joline Hardisty. I am a speaker. Right now, I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, but I'm originally from the Northwest Territories. I am a Cree and Dene from that area. I am a part of Treaty 8, and I operate a business called Living Resilient. Living Resilient is a consulting business, and that consulting business is basically just to promote, inspire, and educate, open some dialogues on First Nations people, issues, and history. I was asked today to speak with you a little bit about who we are as First Nations people. I'm excited. I'm excited to share with you because I feel like that's an important conversation to have at this day and age, especially at a time right now where things are, greatly miscommunicated, misunderstood, and there's so much culture appropriation going on. There's just so many different things regarding First Nations people that we need to address. And so I wanted to just kind of help a little bit and just educate in my perspective and who I am. I'm not saying that this is the only way and this is the right way, because to each First Nations member, they represent themselves in a different way, in a different manner. But I believe that no matter where you come from, especially with First Nations people, we're all somewhat similar in the aspects of our beliefs, who we are, the history that we have, but we're not all the same. So let's understand that. So, what I wanted to share with you is the term First Nations. What do you use? Do you use Native, Indigenous, uh, First Nations? Do you use Indian? There's so many different ways that we were called back in time and in history. I prefer First Nation. And First Nation, the reason why I prefer it is because it implies a history that our people have always been here and we were here first. Our First Nations people, have been here since time memorial. So that's an important issue to address. So I believe that when you say First Nations, that's basically what you're implying. The term Indian has come way back when they teach you Christopher Columbus discovered this land, and that is not true. So, yeah, First Nations people were always here. We were always here, and we were always just willing to share and to be who we were. And during time, things have changed. A little bit of history has happened. Some not so great, some okay. But at the end of it, we're resilient, and that's one of the things that I really got out of the whole history, learning my history and learning who we are, where we come from. Growing up, I was always taught in an old way. I was raised on the land. I was raised in the city. I was raised in town. I was raised many places, but my teachings have always been consistent as to who I am and to be proud of me. Be proud of my brown skin. Be proud of my culture. Be proud of my people. Be proud of my family. And be proud of our stories, because in our stories there are so many strengths of who we are and how far we've come and how far we're going to go. So that was one of the things I wanted to address. Personally, I prefer First Nations. You can ask. If you don't know, ask. Sometimes they just go by the language they speak. Sometimes they go by the area sometimes they go by the area that they're in, and that is okay. You just ask them, what do I call you, or what can I call you? What do you prefer? Always be respectful and be mindful. Some people, they carry around a lot of um, their own biases and a lot of anger and a lot of hurt that have stemmed from their own story, their own history. And First Nations people, we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot as people, as generations, and we're now finally seeing the hope of what can be and what can become of all this. Because there's a lot of stuff there that people don't talk about and don't want to share. You might have seen some things in the news, like the 60s scoop, missing and murdered women, residential school, trees. There's 11 trees in Canada, and no matter where you go on this land, you'll be on Indigenous land. We used the entirety of Canada to hunt, to trap, to fish, to gather. We used it all, and we respected it all. And so when you're on a land and you see a First Nations culture, ask them some things, and if they share with you, great, and if they don't take offense to it, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit why. So that's one of the things I wanted to address with you. Another thing was just who I am. You know, I am a mother of 4 now. I was a child of 5 children when I was young. My mom adopted numerous other children. I am the youngest. I had the privilege to have hunted and trapped and lived in the bush and fished and ice fished and just got to know who I am and some of the practices that we do. I got to take part in ceremony. I got to really be pushed into our traditional lifestyle in a respectful way, and in a way that it was on my own terms and my own time. And I really admire my mom for doing that, because it has taught me so much. And it's given me such respect for who we are and where we come from and who I am, you know, and our history. And it's such a beautiful thing. So, one of the things I wanted to share with you is my hair, okay? My hair, First Nations people, you'll see they have long hair. And you'll see that with men, with women, with boys, with girls, of all ages. And there's reasons behind that. And everything that we do as First Nations people, there's reasons why we do things. And sometimes you just got to respect the reasons and the protocol and the practice that they use. And if you feel comfortable enough to ask, okay? But I'm going to share with you my teachings on my hair. And my hair, I was told that my hair represents strength. It represents my connection to the Creator. It represents who I am and my patience in life, because it takes a long time to grow my hair. It also represents mind, body, and spirit. When I braid my hair, that's one of the things that I think about, is I always have good thoughts, because I want to be a good person. I want to grow up and know who I am deep down personally. And so when I braid my hair, I really think good thoughts, and I just try to continue to know that life is not happening to me, it's happening for me. And so it keeps me grounded. It represents for me mind, body, and spirit. It gives me that reminder that we are all connected. It helps me so that I understand who I am. And so when you see little boys and men with long hair in our culture, traditionally that's who we were. I'm not saying all First Nations people are like that, because there's some people that you would see with shorter hair and shaved hair and a shaved head, and it all depends on their teachings and their practices, because we're all different, but we're also unique, and we're all respectful of one another. So that's one of the things I wanted to share with you. I hope that answered some of your questions. Never be ashamed of your hair. If you're a First Nations member, I've seen many children be ashamed of having their long hair, especially little boys. Know that that's your strength. Know that that's who you are. Know that there's so much beauty into who you are, and hold that with pride, because it takes a lot of patience, it takes strength, and it takes understanding to be that, to grow that, to have that. So embrace that. Also, another things I wanted to share with you is medicine. Growing up, I was taught about the medicine wheel. My mom had given me the greatest gift that I found that applied to so many things in my life. And she showed me what the medicine wheel was. I'm going to show you a picture, a small picture of it. This medicine wheel, right there, it represents 4 colors. It also represents 4 directions, the 4 stages in life. It represents races, the 4 races. It represents many things. There's tobacco, there's cedar, there's sweetgrass, and there's sage that's represented in this medicine wheel. There's so many things encompassed in this medicine wheel, and there's so many teachings that go along with it. It goes into great detail and great length. At the end of this video, I will be, not at the end of the video, but with these videos, I will be providing a list of resources that you could learn some of these things. And they're amazing teachings. Every First Nation is a little bit different in how they describe their medicine wheel, but we're all pretty well the same. There's teachings that we go by, and they all kind of follow the same thing of respect, humility, love, understanding, so there's different things like that. I'll show you some medicines that we use. This is the medicine wheel, and this is sweetgrass. In my teaching, I was taught that it was a male plant, but as I came down to Alberta, I found out that some people say there's sweetgrass is a female plant. And then I was taught that sage was the female plant, but then there's some teachings that teach that it's the male plant. See, we're all different in our teachings, and I think it's important to embrace that and to know that just, it's not right and it's not wrong. It's just it's how we were taught and what we were doing. This right here is cedar, and this one right here is tobacco. We honor these plants, and the reason why we honor these plants is because they come from the earth, and when they came to our people, they came with lessons, with teachings, with understanding, and so we have learned and we have passed that on generationally. And so when we teach, some of those are some of the medicines that we use. There's different types of sweetgrass, there's different types of sage, there's different types of cedar, I imagine. I'm not too sure. And then tobacco. There's natural tobacco, and then there's tobacco that we buy at the store. When we hunt and when we gather, the way I was taught was that we offer tobacco. And we offer tobacco by just getting a little bit like this in our hand. And we say a prayer, we acknowledge the four directions, we acknowledge who we are to this universe, we acknowledge that Mother Earth has provided so much to us, and that we're a part of creation, and that when we hunt and when we gather, that we're taking a part of the Mother Earth, we're taking part of something that is not ours, but we're able to utilize it, that it's a gift to us. And we honor the spirit that goes in it, because in our culture we believe that there's so many things. Everything on this earth has a spirit, has an energy all its own. Right from the rock, to the water, to the air, to the fire. So, that's a practice that we use. I wanted to share that with you because you'll see many times too that people will feed the fire, people will offer tobacco when they go hunting, they will offer tobacco when they pick berries, when they cut wood. These are the teachings that I were taught. If they vary from culture to culture, language to language, area to area. First Nations people, we respect all things and we honor all things. And we're so grateful for the circle of life and that the universe has provided, that the Creator has provided for us. And so these are some of the things that I wanted to share with you, because when Europeans first came to Canada, they were misguided, or they had their own biases that they had placed on us. And in placing those biases on us, they had thought we were doing wrong by our culture, or doing wrong by the Creator, or God. And in the Indigenous way, we don't discriminate, we don't judge people on how and and why they pray. We just see that they have their own connection in their own way, and that's something to really acknowledge. Just because you're not of the same faith, and because you don't practice the same way, or you don't pray the same way, or you don't go to the same ceremony, or you don't go to the same church, does not make it wrong. We have to learn how to get back to the humanity in us that acknowledges everybody else's growth for what it is and for how it is, and to just know that everybody has their own way. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. Another thing I wanted to share with you is our drum. All around Indigenous communities and cultures, you will see drums, and they always look different. Every drum is different in every culture. And what I'm holding right now, is a Dene drum, and it's spelled D-E-N-E. And it's a drum from our area, from the Northwest Territories. This thing here is like tension. It gives that vibration, so it makes a different sound. And this drum is made out of hide, okay? It's made out of, I believe this one is caribou hide. But it's the hide from an animal, and when we kill the animal, we honor everything. Everything that we take from it, we use. And what we don't use, we acknowledge its existence and its properties to who it is. And we set tobacco down with it and trust that all of creation will take what they need from it, and that the Creator has been given us this gift and that we're able to honor it in such a beautiful way. This drum, when it was made with a handle at the back and the strings that tie it together. It represents the circle of life. It represents the heartbeat of Mother Earth. This heartbeat of Mother Earth, no matter where you go and you hear the drum, that's what it represents. Mother Earth, it pulses. It gives energy. It has energy in there. And so for First Nations people, when we beat the drum, we honor everything that she's given to us, that she provides for us, the blessings, from the medicine to the teachings, to the land, to the water, to the air, to the plants, to the creepy crawlies. We are all one here on this earth. And this drum helps us. It helps us in prayer, it helps us in song, it helps us in celebration, it helps us in mourning. It helps with so many things in our culture. And so when you see a drum, you be respectful. There's ways that we were taught about the drum that have to be respected. In my culture, in the Dene culture, we were taught that women do not drum because women are so sacred. We're so pure in a sense that we can cleanse ourselves, that we have our own way of prayer. We are the creators of life. We are able to give birth, and we are able to cleanse ourselves. And the men, they were given this drum to help in that way, to help them connect with Mother Earth, with the beat of the drum, and with being able to pray. And every song that you hear at a powwow, at a round dance, at a drum dance, there's meaning behind those songs. So it's important to remember that they're not just sung because they sound good, that there's meaning there. When we use our culture, there's so much beauty in that, you know? And so that's one of the things I wanted to share with you is about the drum. Powwows, you know, when you go to a powwow, be respectful at a powwow. When I'm talking powwow, I'm talking Cree culture. This is something that I'm familiar with. There's many different ways that other people represent their culture and their languages and who they are as a people. So that's one thing to remember, that when you're in an area, ask what's going on, inquire, and just be really passionate about it, because there's sometimes when you ask and the person you're asking can see your intent on your question, and sometimes they might read you and it might be a negative reading where they're like, oh, I don't know if I should tell you. You got to respect that too, because not everything's meant to be shared. And yeah, so our languages, okay? So our languages, when we sing with the drum, when we honor who we are, when we use our languages, there's so much beauty. There's so much beauty in that. And I wanted to share that there's secrets in that, you know? There's secrets to who we are. There's secrets in our language. There's secrets to our land, to the universe, to our history. And there's some things that are pronounced in our languages that are tailored to that language, to that dialect. And there's many dialects and there's many languages in Canada and America. And so if you don't know and you want to know, ask what that means. Sometimes they'll ask you to pronounce it, and it's okay. You know, it's okay if you pronounce it wrong or you say it wrong. In our culture, we like to laugh, you know, we like to share that joy, and you'll never learn something unless you try. So ask. So that's one of the things I wanted to share with you. Another thing, when we hunt and we use our entire moose or entire buffalo or things like that, we make art with it. So some of the things that we used to do, even with the trees, when we gathered bark, this is a miniature canoe. But this is a birch bark canoe. We used the bark from the trees, and we were able to craft it so that it was able to be a canoe or a boat or something that we would use it for. And so there are so many different tools that our ancestors had used. We used clay to make bowls, to make cups. There are so many things that I can share with you. But one of the things I did want to share with you is some art. And this right here, when we cut a buffalo, sorry, not a buffalo, a moose. When we cut a moose and we use its meat and we go hunting, we also don't cook that hind leg. And this is that one of the legs on the moose. And if you look at it right here, this is called a moose hide scraper. In the land of Dene people in the Northwest Territories, this is something we use to flesh the moose. And it's held like this. It's just an uncooked bone. And there's a nice handle. My father had made this for me. And so we flesh the moose, and it's a whole body workout. And so there's so much love and care and different teachings that go into preparing our traditional belongings, our traditional shoes, our gloves, our slippers. I'm going to share with you some gloves here. This my mother-in-law made. My mother-in-law made these gloves. They are out of caribou, and you could smell that caribou on them. This right here is beaver fur. This is her own beading. She's a beautiful beater. I believe she's 79 years old right now. She's an amazing person. Her name is Joline Hardisty from Wrigley, Northwest Territories. So she added some fringes here. Just recently, I was taught about our fringes, and it said that when you cut these fringes, even these fringes have meaning. And the first cut is to separate you from your parents. The second cut is to separate you from your grandparents. The third cut is to separate you from your children, and so on and so forth, for all of creation, for the creepy crawlies, for the winged ones. When you see traditional dancers and they have these fringes and they make them dance, they're including their ancestors with them wherever they go. That's one of the teachings that we were taught as women, that we honor everything. You know, we believe that there's significance in everything that we do. So when we do things, that's one of the, it's important to know that there's reasons, there's meanings, there's lessons behind there. So that's what I learned about fringes. This is another thing. It's my husband's shoe, so it's nicely worn. He wears it all the time. This is a slipper. It's called a moccasin. This is made from moose hide. This is an upper, it's called. It goes on the top of your shoe. Your foot goes in here, and this is beaver fur. And then my mother-in-law is real fancy, so she beat it all along the side. Where I'm from, this is Dene footwear. In the Dene culture, you'll see many different tribes and different languages and different cultures have their own style of moccasin, and how they sew and how they put together their own shoe or their own gloves. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, because when they do that, there's also reasons behind that on why they sewed it that way, right? So it's important, to, if you have questions, inquire with your local environment of Indigenous people, because there's so much beauty in there. These mucklucks, my mom made them. So one day, when I was in grade 9, I believe, I had to go to winter camp, and I came home and I said, "Hey Mom, I'm leaving to winter camp by Friday," and it was like Wednesday or something, and I said, "And I don't have any boots." So she made me these boots real fast. And these are called high top mucklucks. So these are also from the Dene. My mom is Chippewa, and I put my foot in there and they tie like this. And they go around, they hug my ankle or my leg nice and tight and snug, and they're warm. So my mom puts a duffel in there. I don't know if you can see that here. So she puts a duffel in there. And then I just use thick socks and a nice rubber shoe. It's like a nice little rubber sole that goes over top of it. And my feet are warm for a long time. Some people actually use sheared beaver fur, and they put it at the bottom of their shoe so it keeps it warm, and it also keeps it dry because it doesn't get very wet through these hides. And so, yeah. My mom had also made these beaver gloves, these beaver fur gloves. They're beautiful, hey? And we use them for hunting, for trapping. I just use them as an everyday in the winter. This is what I use them. They're beautiful, beautiful gloves. They're also very expensive. When you purchase Indigenous art, you're not just purchasing the item, you're purchasing the craft of how it was made and who made it, and you're honoring the fact that they are able to provide that for you, you know, because when they make moccasins and they make different things like that, you know, this practice of getting moose hide and being able to sew, it's an art form, and that art form should always be respected because it comes from Mother Earth. And so when you pay for items like this, sometimes they're really expensive, and you're paying for a craft, you're paying for the material, you're paying for the time. This artwork, when you see beaded artwork, that takes time. That takes a lot of time to do this kind of art, because if you see, they're not loose beads. They're all tacked down. Every single bead on here is tacked down. And so when we bead, we also bead from the goodness of our heart, from the kindness of our heart, and we appreciate it so much that we're able to share this art form. And so when you purchase things like that, know that it comes at a cost, and that cost is because so much work went into that, you know, from getting the moose hide, to getting the material, to sewing, to putting it together. It's an art form that not too many practice, but those that do, they do it with great love and great respect. This right here, I was gifted this by an elder, and it's a rattle. This rattle is used for song, for ceremony, for honoring, and it creates a different vibration, and it's able to heal you. You know, everything that we do, we have meaning behind it. We heal, we honor ourselves, our growth, our development, other people's growth, other people's development. And so when you see different things, just know that there is meaning behind it, that that we don't just do it just because it looks nice and the songs sound good, and, you know, we want to be pretty, and, you know, there's the beauty behind it is great, it's awesome, but there's also significant meaning in everything we do. When you go to a powwow and you see a powwow in Cree culture, we're asked to be respectful. You can't just go there with a camera and assume like that we're all just there dressed up. And it's not just costumes. It's not costumes. It's called regalia. That regalia, the way everything is made in a powwow, has significant meaning. Yeah, so back to the powwow. The jingle dress, when you go to a powwow, it's for healing. There's a story behind the jingle dress, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share that with you, but just know that it's for the sick and it's for the healing. It's when they do the dance and they raise their eagle feathers, or, you know, there's significant meaning behind that song, behind the raising of their eagle feathers, behind the dance. And with every drum beat, their foot has to touch the ground. And it's to keep in sync with Mother Earth and all of creation, and to help them heal and bring that energy right up from Mother Earth so that they can share it, so that their energy can emanate from them, so that they can help other people. Fancy shawl, same thing. Grass dance, traditional dance. There's men's traditional, women's traditional, men's fancy, women's fancy. There's so many different dances that you can do, and so many different ways that people decorate themselves in their regalia. And there's meaning behind everything that they carry, everything that they hold, the way that their beads are beaded, the design that they chose, the colors that they chose. In our culture, each different person has their own set of guides and their own set of colors and their own representation of who they are and the energy that they bring. So just know that even in our powwows, there's certain things that we do. Don't take pictures. Don't take pictures unless you ask. You have to ask the dancer and make it known. Shake their hand, let them know that they have a beautiful outfit. Ask them if you could take a picture. Our ceremonies, our dances, our powwows, they all happen for a reason. Sometimes they're for competition. Other times they're always for healing. They're always for something that we're doing as a ceremony. So it's important to always ask and be respectful and be mindful, because there's beliefs in that. There's different beliefs, and it's important. It's really, really important. I can't stress that enough. And yeah, they there's so many things that I want to talk about. I'm like, yay! So this is basically what I wanted to share with you. I really hope that I, inspired you or even answered some questions that you may have. I hope that I was able to give some value and that you were able to find something within this video that I was able to share with you. My name is Joline Hardisty. I can be reached via Facebook. I am a speaker. I really love our people. First Nations people, it's who we are. There's so much beauty in who we are, and that has to be shared. It has to be promoted, and it has to be promoted in such a positive light with everybody. Put your best foot forward when you do something, and when you do anything, make sure that you always represent yourself in the best way, in the best manner. Another thing that I wanted to share with you is teachings. There's some teachings in our culture and who we are as a people that can't be shared. Okay, so there are certain things from certain areas and certain families and certain languages and certain cultures that are not allowed to be shared with outsiders. Like we have our own families and our own history and our own tradition, our own practices, and just to be respectful. Just because you ask a question and because you want to know does not mean that you will get the answers you're looking for. Sometimes you will ask and they will smile at you and respectfully walk away, and just know that might happen, and that's okay, and that there is a reason behind that, because sometimes we're not allowed to share, and that there's belief behind that. And in time, you will know. If it's meant for you to know, you'll know. Who we are, we like to just acknowledge that, there's a time and a place for everything, and that if it's meant for you, it'll be, and if it's not, then it won't. And so just because you ask doesn't mean that you will get the answers that you're looking for. When they're passed down, when history is passed down, when teachings are passed down, practices and protocols are passed down, they're passed down in a certain way, in a certain environment, at a certain time, sometimes to certain people. And that is important to know and to realize and to respect, because we all have our own way, and we have to be respectful of one another, of how our cultures are, how our people are, and who we are, because we are different. We're all unique and we're all different, and there's so much beauty in our stories. And thank you. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me, to helping me show you some of the things, like to sorry, I'm getting a little bit tongue tied here. But I wanted to thank you because this has been a great honor. I have always wanted to just share with the masses, and Canadian Homeschooler has been able to give me that opportunity. I am a speaker in my own area, and I do travel to in communities around the area, and I do presentations at schools. And so I always am so grateful and so thankful for everything that I've done and every opportunity that I've been given. Just know that every message that I deliver is done in the best manner, the best manner that I know how, and I try to be respectful and mindful as I know how to be, and if there's some things that maybe caught you off guard or you would like to know more, please don't be hesitant to call me or like to message me. I can be reached at Joline_Beaver@hotmail.com, which is JOLINE_Beaver, as in the animal, at hotmail.com. I can also be reached at Facebook under Joline Hardisty. I thank you for everything and for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. May you have a great day, and may the Creator bless you.